Hello, it is me, your Trill Phenom SP3. We are live on the Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda and Sportskeeda Wrestling Facebook page for another edition of Smack Talk, talking about WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage. I am here with the legendary manager, wrestler, historian extraordinaire,
No,
Dutch Mantell.
I'm not an historian.
You're a historian.
Well, I can, but don't ask me when or where. And I can tell you what happened maybe, but I don't know where it was or when it was. But I remember some things anyway. So we watched. Where is Rick tonight?
I have no idea. I literally just saw that maybe like 30 minutes ago, Rick told us he's not going to show up.
Yeah, and the way he wrote it on text, like, please tell me that drunken had let him spell. No, really, he said his two kids were ill and he didn't feel well himself.
Okay.
Said, yeah, take care of those young ones.
Of course.
Taking care of your damn decrepit old ass. So he needs to, and he can tell them then, hey, I missed the Sportskeeda show a lot of times for you kids. So
Absolutely.
So when
we send our best to Rick and the family, to his kids, and Rick will be back with us next week for the go home show for AEW Revolution. We watched 3 hours of professional wrestling tonight: WWE SmackDown, AEW Rampage. I mean,
you're making my other personality come out. I did watch 3 hours of it.
It was 3 hours.
What I do, this is my routine, okay? I don't start to about 20 to 9.
Okay.
Because I tape it. Then I go through it and I got it timed down. It's a science. I got it timed down now to where it ends. I speed it up, and then I got maybe 10 minutes left. And then I can go right to Rampage. So now I'm not watching 3 hours straight because, seriously, that's a hell of a chore to task somebody. Watch 3 hours and then come back and talk about, oh, we can do it. But this is the big difference I saw between AEW and WWE tonight. Presentation. AEW, after watching SmackDown, it's dark. It is so dark, and it looks a little fuzzy. It looks like they shot it with a camera from 2005 or something. I don't know, but there is a big, big difference. And it's not bright. It's kind of dark. So I'm sitting back there, I guess I said, what the hell? I'm trying to see it. And their lighting is nowhere close to what WWE lighting is. See, I talked to the people who used to do the lighting for WWE. I don't know if the same people do it now or not. This was several years ago. I asked them what to light up any arena like they do for TV. You know what they said it cost? 60 grand. 60 grand just for lighting. I'll tell you what, AEW, they need to give people some flashlights. That'd be a lot cheaper so they could just shine it in the ring or shine it at somebody coming down the ramp. Hey, I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying this in a constructive manner. So if Tony is listening, Tony, people notice that. I noticed that. What are the people? Good evening, SP and Dutch. Back again because of the weather and being behind on my shows. Where are you at,
Welcome
Chris?
back. Welcome back, Chris.
It must be in the snow.
We're gonna start with SmackDown this week because because it's the same thing I say every week. It's the Bloodline segments, and then there's everything else.
Yeah, there is.
So let's talk about the Bloodline segments. Let's just get it out the way. Let's pull off the Band-Aid. We started off the show with a recap of what went down at Elimination Chamber with Roman Reigns retaining the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Sami Zayn in his hometown of Montreal, and Kevin Owens coming out to make the save. We also seen the footage of Monday Night Raw where Kevin Owens rejected Sami Zayn's proposal for them to work together to take down the Bloodline. We then saw Jimmy Uso arriving at the building, but he hasn't been in touch with Jey. He has left Jey multiple voice messages, and he says that he wants to meet him in the middle of the ring tonight, and Jey can get everything off his chest. And then throughout the night, Dutch, we saw backstage segments with Jey and Solo Sikoa. It was mostly Jey talking, saying that he thinks Jimmy talking to Solo Sikoa, saying that he thinks Jey is shaken up after Montreal. So Paul Heyman suggests that Jimmy deal with Jey on his own tonight. Solo Sikoa will stay in the back with him, and Jimmy appears to agree. We then see a second backstage segment where Jimmy is thinking about the segment with Jey coming up, and Paul Heyman says that he just got off the phone with Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns will return to SmackDown next week. And he says that if Jimmy can't deal with Jey tonight, then Roman will personally handle Jey next week. And that leads us to the final segment of the show, where Jimmy Uso comes out and he basically is making a plea to his brother. He says that he knows that Jey is hurting, and when Jey hurts, he hurts too. He'll always be there for his brother, and now he needs his brother here. There are some cracks in the bloodline, and Jimmy needs his brother, but instead of his brother, out comes his honorary Uso through the crowd, Sami Zayn.
Sticking his nose in everything. No wonder he's in trouble with everybody.
Sammy says he keeps hearing Jimmy talking about his brother, and that's what Jimmy used to be to him. Jimmy was the only one who saw value in Sami Zayn, and he was the one who made Zayn an honorary Uso. Even when Jey wouldn't accept him into the bloodline, Jimmy did. When Paul Heyman didn't see value in Sami, Jimmy did. And he said then at the Royal Rumble, Jimmy didn't hesitate to take down Sami Zayn without a second thought, and that hurt him a lot. But Jimmy comes back at Sami with a fiery promo. He says that he blames Sami for all of this, for making the choice, for pulling the trigger and hitting Roman Reigns.
Sami was blaming him, right? That's what
Huh?
didn't he say, you're blaming me for this? That's what he told, right? That's actually, it's actually a pretty good interview.
I thought it was a great promo by Jimmy, probably one of his best works ever. He says Jimmy says what he was supposed to do. He said it was all about family, and he says his family wouldn't betray him. And Zayn says family doesn't make you test your loyalty every week or manipulate you like Reigns has done to himself or Jey. And this brings out Jey in the crowd. The crowd erupts when Jey comes out through the crowd. As Sami says, there's a way out for Jimmy. He doesn't have to go down with the ship. At this point, Sami sees Jey in the crowd, and Jimmy attacks him after the distraction. He looks up at Jey, and he's telling Jey to come down. Jey slowly comes down the stairs, but as he's doing that, Sami hits Jimmy with the haluva kick. Jey has made his way to the barricade, and Sami sees Solo Sikoa about to come out, so he bails through the crowd. They have a little look at each other, Jey and Sami, before Sami runs off. Zayn runs into the crowd to end the show, while Jey never said anything, did anything but staring at the whole scene. And I thought this whole segment was really well done, and the build up to it was very well done. But it's going to be very interesting what goes down next week, Dutch, when Roman Reigns is back and how he handles Jey personally. But what did you think about this final segment, the promo from Jimmy Uso, the promo from Sami Zayn?
Well, it was the only thing in the show that was, to me, that meant anything. The rest of them were just matches, and pretty good matches. There was nothing wrong with the matches. Of course, the presentation was great. Like I said before, they had a lot of bright lights and all. But what they did, they just maintained this angle. They didn't advance it. They didn't retard it. They just kept it on its straight line. So it's exactly the same spot it was before the show started. But now the people have something to look forward to. Now they're looking forward to, what is Roman going to do? And I don't know what they're going to do there, but I have an idea that at one point they have to bring all that crew together. They have to bring Roman and Sami and the two Usos and Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. They all got to get the starting team on the field so we can look at them. I don't know if that's going to be next week or the week after. I wouldn't think we do that the week before WrestleMania. But the next week or the week after that, I think you're gonna see Cody involved in this somewhere because he needs to be because he's facing Roman at WrestleMania, and I think that we're going to have KO and Sami team up against the Usos, which to me is a very very strong main event and sub main event. Actually, when I used to work, for territories, they wouldn't just have one main event; they would say two main events, and they'd advertise. I've even seen three main events.
Well, it's a 2-night WrestleMania, so you can have 2 main events.
Well, okay, that's what we're going to do then. I'm glad you brought that up.
So
But
that's been a interesting topic of discussion this week because in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it said that the WWE's current plans is to have Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley main event night 1 of WrestleMania, but there are many fans that believe that whatever is going down between the Usos, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, that should main event night 1. Of course, the night 2 main event is already sealed up. It's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, but what do you think, Dutch? Do you think it should be the women's match with Charlotte and Rhea, or do you think it should be the projected tag team title match of the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens?
I would go with the program. I would go with what they've been working on for 6 or 8 months. Rhea and Charlotte Flair. I don't think it's a main event. I don't think it's a main event. It may be a main event match, but that's not up to me. That's up to the fans. They determine that. I don't. But I would go with Sami and KO against the Usos. And I'm sure they're going that way. They have nowhere else to go. I mean, that's what they've been shooting at. Of course, we're still in the dark of whether KO and Sami can coexist. And they got a great story going. So I'm sure they planned it out well. We will see. But let me ask you this. This past week, I got to get this in. Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez had this big, long ass discussion about Sami should have won in Montreal. And I don't get it. So I come up with the line, tell me you're a mark without telling me you're a mark. So they're out there saying, oh, yeah, it would have been a great moment in WWE. Granted, they said, oh, yeah, but he can beat him on down the road, but it wouldn't be like Montreal. No, it wouldn't be. But after they worked on this, on Roman, for 3 years, for him to go up against Sami, who is the weakest one of all of them, and lose, I don't know how he would lose. I don't think that wouldn't even fare good for anybody. I don't think it would even help Sami because Sami needs Roman. He needs the bloodline because that's what got him over. Without them, I don't know where he'd be. He'd probably still be back in third or fourth match. But he fit in this perfectly because he wanted to be with them so bad and finally got in, and then it ended up because we knew it would end up this way. But the way they went into it, brilliant. So don't give it away on the first night. The old saying in wrestling is they will come to see the good guy win. But if he had won, he goes up against Roman, they will not come to see the bad guy win. They just won't do that. I mean, later on, I guess the mood could change on it, but I think what they did at WrestleMania was brilliant. I mean, not WrestleMania, on the Elimination Chamber was brilliant, and they know what they're doing, and they would have to almost revamp everything, and they're not going to do that. So
I agree.
Brian
Roman Reigns should have
Meltzer,
won.
you
My only
can kiss my butt. Shut up. That's why you've never booked anywhere.
My only nitpick is that there should have been some type of progression at the Elimination Chamber. Like, we to come out of Elimination Chamber and we didn't get where Jey Uso's loyalty lies. We didn't get the Sami Zayn Kevin Owens reunion. I say, you're not going to get the big pop of Sami Zayn winning. I don't think that was the right decision. They should have done that. If they want to stay the course with Roman being the champion going into WrestleMania versus Cody Rhodes, I totally understand that. But they could have gave us the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens reunion, or a
I
fake
agree there.
reunion. They could have hugged, and then Kevin pushes him away, and then you can continue on with the story of they still have to get connected, but he gets caught up into the moment and he hugs him to get the big pop from the crowd that you don't get by Sami winning. At least you get it with Sami and KO hugging. That's why I felt like the finish it let down what was a tremendous match, in my opinion.
I agree there. I thought they would actually do that, though. That's what he's coming down, and he don't want to do it. He don't want to do it. And finally, Sammy is begging him and begging him. And then his wife is begging him, and the whole crowd is saying, join him, join him, join him. And finally, he says, screw it, and hugs him. Then you get your big pop. I agree 100% with that. That's what I thought they were going to do anyway. Now, see, when Triple H called me last week and asked me about this whole finish, I just told him straight up that Sid didn't like his shit, and that hurt his feelings, by the way. So, no, but I thought they would do something. They needed a big pop because it was. And one thing that Meltzer and Alvarez said that was accurate was you'll never get a moment like this again, not with him.
Yeah.
And I agree with that because, yeah, if he wins, now the crowd's happy. But now what? Now you got to, like I said, now Roman's coming back trying to get it back. But see, he's already, I mean, if he had won, that would be that, and they didn't change it, it'd be Cody versus Sammy. Would you buy a ticket to see that?
No.
There's no zip to it. But with Roman, after they worked on him for 3 years, and I remember when they used to boo the crap out of him as a babyface, but now he found his little niche, I guess is that word, and he fell into it, and he's a damn good one. Hey, we have a voting, the Sportskeeda Wrestler of the Year contest coming up, right?
We have the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. The voting is now live, folks. You can vote on, the male wrestler of the year, the female wrestler of the year, tag team of the year, rookie of the year, feud of the year, match of the year. It is up sportskeeda.com as well as the social media platforms. You can vote right now for the Sportskeeda Wrestling Awards. I'm gonna go and ask you a different one because you seem to always talk about the male wrestler of the year. We've talked about female wrestler of the year. What was your favorite match of the year from 2022, Dutch?
Oh, I can't remember that. No, from 2022.
Yes.
When did Gunther have his match with
Sheamus?
That was in February. I mean, in January.
No, the Sheamus the Sheamus match was last September. That was Clash at the Castle. That does count.
I like that the best. I like that because of its simplicity and its brutality. Because the people sat back and said, wow, these guys are laying it in. And I know Sheamus, and I've heard of Gunther. They don't mind that. And I've talked about it before, the old Johnny Valentine of years and years and years ago. He'd go, night after night after night. That's just when they were working 4 or 5 nights a week, so 6 nights a week. And he'd go 40 minutes a night. He didn't get warmed up after 20 minutes. So the people, when he came to the ring, they sat down. They just knew that this match wasn't going to be over in 10 minutes. So they sat down and got comfortable. And at the end, through psychology and knowing what he was doing, he would have them on their feet. Brilliant ring commander, because he had
General.
Yeah, he had them exactly where he wanted them. So, but Gunther, you're talking about the women. Who was Who would be your woman wrestler of the year?
Women's wrestler of the year, I think with Sportskeeda, it's just going to be a WWE or AEW. Then I would go with Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair was Raw Women's Champion for much of the year, winning the title at WrestleMania 38. She had some great matches, whether it be that match with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38 when she won the championship, great triple threat with Becky and Asuka at Hell in a Cell, another great match with Becky at SummerSlam, a really good series with Bayley with a ladder match and the last woman standing match. She won at War Games. They have really made her into like the female John Cena with how they booked her so strong throughout 2022. So if it's just between WWE and AEW, that would be my pick. What about you?
I would pick her too, even including that 25-second loss.
Well, no, that was 2021. We got to forget that. Forget that out of your brain.
Up in the years on me. I can't remember that stuff. But anyway, I think she's been the one they pushed the most, and I think she will get it like hands down. And I think that Roman Reigns will get male wrestler of the year, hands down. Except I'm not voting for him. Out of protest, I'm voting for Gunther. He's my favorite. And what's Chris Alford saying there? Hey, Chris,
Bianca.
It's gonna cost you $5, buddy, to vote. Hey, Stephen Chambers, that's gonna cost you 10. Just
all right. So you mentioned Gunther. Let's get back into SmackDown. The opening matchup was a trios matchup, 6-man tag, as it was Imperium, Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci versus Madcap Moss, Ricochet, and Braun Strowman. This one went just under 11 minutes. It
who
came
won?
down. It came down to Gunther and Madcap Moss in the ring, and Gunther delivered a big old power bomb for the win to give Imperium the victory. Early on, like midway through the matchup, Drew McIntyre came out into the entranceway to watch this matchup. It seemed to be like the first tease that we may be getting Gunther versus Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 39. Post-match, McIntyre looked like he was going to come to the ring. He takes his jacket off, but he's attacked from behind by
Yeah,
the Viking Raiders. We then get Sheamus coming out to even the odds, but they are still beaten down by the Viking Raiders until Braun Strowman and Ricochet come through to help them out. And then I don't know what happened to Imperium, but I was just totally thrown off by this post match here. I understand Viking Raiders may want revenge for Drew and Sheamus beating them last week, but it felt like I've seen that same segment 101 times now. It seems like when it should be, the focus should be right now on Drew getting to Gunther, or I think it really should be Drew and Sheamus in a triple threat with Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. But I don't know where they're going. It seemed like they're now moving on to Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus Viking Raiders. But Dutch, what did you think about the opening 6-man tag and this post match?
well, it was okay till they did. It was convoluted at the end.
Yeah.
You thought you thought McIntyre was going to enter the ring somewhere after Gunther, but the Viking Raiders, they dispelled that thought, and then it was okay, but that's about all I can say about it. I don't know who's mad at who, to tell you the truth. So we should be mad at them for leading us that way. We should be the hot ones, but I don't know where they're going to take that. But Gunther, the monster of all monsters and little acrobat,
Ricochet.
they just fill in the spot now. See what I mean? They're not, and so is Imperium. They just filling in the spot. I know Gunther is with them, and that's a way to expose him on TV. But SmackDown, even though the last segment was good, still it all looked like maintenance. I know they're 35 days out from WrestleMania.
I believe you're right. We got about 5 more episodes of SmackDown before WrestleMania.
And they in SoFi Stadium, right? In LA?
Yes. Correct.
Seats how many
Are you
people?
going?
Oh, I'm gonna be there. I already got my ticket.
Good.
Yeah, I'm on the front row on the corner.
You should have me sit next to you. Get me a ticket too.
What is the capacity in that stadium?
I believe it's about 70,000 or so.
but that's not with seats on the floor,
Maybe.
right?
Let me double check here. What's the capacity
It may have a
for
capacity
SoFi?
and fixed
Yeah,
seats,
70,000.
but they're going to have seats on the field. So that should be another 10, 15,000 there, wouldn't you think?
Well,
10,000.
I know right now they're selling really good. They have almost, I think, over 55,000 sold for both nights, and they just opened up more seats. So I think they're going to try to hit that 70,000 number.
Well, they'll do well. They they will do good, and sometimes they do good not off the strength of the card, just because it's an event.
Yeah.
It's an annual event. And it's a big deal. So I wish them a lot of luck. The second, hey, they had two girls matches tonight too.
Yeah, so let's get into what they did with the Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio angle, because Dominic Mysterio was here tonight. First you had Rey with a promo talking about his matchup with Karrion Kross, but he
Yep,
was interrupted by Santos Escobar. Seems like they're leaning more to Escobar becoming a babyface, possibly.
they are.
He talks about his respect for Rey Mysterio and he wants to display it to him. He said that Rey tells him that that's mutual, but someone who doesn't have respect for him is Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley, who interrupt. Dominic talks down to Escobar, saying he's always trying to show respect to his father, and Escobar doesn't like Dominic's tone. They seem to set up a match between these two, but Rhea Ripley steps in between them, and Dominic and Rhea walk off. This leads into later in the night where we have Rey Mysterio going one-on-one with Karrion Kross. This was a rematch from a few weeks back. This was fine. This was fine for what it was. It's a big man, little man type of matchup. It gets just about 8.5 minutes. Rey looks like he's about to get the win when he goes for the 619, but Scarlett is leaning over the ropes. So when he hits the ropes, Scarlett bounces into the ring. That distracts the referee. So when Rey goes for the 619, Dominic comes out the crowd and he grabs Rey. He then pulls him to the outside and tells him to hit me, hit me. He's still daring his father to hit him. This distracts Rey long enough for Kross to hit the cross hammer, and he follows up with the cross jacket for the choke out victory. After the matchup, Dominic once again dares his father to hit him. Rey is going through the emotions. Even though Dominic mushes him in the face, Rey cannot bring himself to striking his son. The crowd gave this a really good reaction and gave a great reaction to Dominic throughout the night. He was in one more segment, which we'll get into, but what did you think about this matchup here between Kross and Mysterio and the follow-up with Rey and Dom?
Well, I thought the match was the best it could be because you have the big man, the little man deal, and I think Kross, he's not used to working with guys like Mysterio, so he has to change his style. But I'm not worried about that. I want to know the story, and I think that's what most fans want to know: the story with Dominic and Mysterio. And they went actually longer when he was saying, "You want to hit me? You want to hit me? You want to hit me?" And he was in the crowd. They were saying, "Hit him! Hit him! Hit him! Hit him!" But he didn't hit him. Now they still got that to. And when he hits him, it's going to finally bring the roof in because he has constrained himself or contained himself up to this point of not just slapping his kid. So, which I thought was really really good segment, and they will come down, I'm sure, to a match between Mysterio and Dominic. They have to, and we'll see where it goes from there. I'm interested in how they would work that match because Mysterio, he knows how to work it, and you got a lot of agents back there or people that help put these matches together. I want to see that match. That's one, and I want to see the fans' reaction to it. Seeing this, they've already brought Mysterio's Ray's wife into it, and his sister too, right?
Yeah. Oh, the whole family's been
And
involved in
they
this one.
and it's a family deal, and people can put themselves. I think if you make it personal, like my old buddy Jerry Jarrett, rest in peace, he used to say, if you make it personal, they'll buy it because they'll believe it. I've said this 100 times. They'll believe it till you give them a reason to disbelieve it. And people can put themselves in that situation. What would I do?
Yeah.
Because I even called myself punch. I said punch him, punch him.
I was the same way. I'm like, it's been long enough, Ray. You need to
Oh
beat your
yeah,
son. You need to beat your son's ass. That's what I think.
no kidding. But and that could be a, you're going to get Ripley in there somewhere on top of this, and I mean they got a lot of ways they can go. Tonight was a maintenance show, and we had a lot of things to look forward to next week. With Roman being back, how's that going to end up? And
Yeah.
of course, I said Cody has to enter the picture somewhere, and Kevin Owens has to enter the picture somewhere, and we need our whole starting team and the main events on the field at the same time on TV, which I think we'll get within the next 2 weeks.
I think so too. I think once March is going, they're gonna pull the trigger on a couple of the things with the KO and Sammy reuniting, Cody being more involved with this whole bloodline thing, Ray punching his son in the face. All those things need to happen by the time we get into like mid-March.
And you see, it's almost like Cody coming back when he came back and then getting hurt when he got hurt. That was when Vince was still
Yeah.
in WWE. Then Vince has to step aside off creative, and then of course he comes back. But now Cody is coming back. He's well enough to go, I guess. And what a time he picked. I mean, he didn't pick it. Uh, I think it was just the right time. He's lucky that and his injury actually is going to work for him
Yeah.
because it kept him out, and it kept them from kind of hurting his brand before it was time to display it. Remember, my biggest concern about Cody coming back was give him 2 or 3 weeks or 4 or 5 weeks, and he'll just be another guy. By him getting hurt and coming back and them putting the emphasis on him, it's good for Cody. So
He's a hot commodity right now, but let's talk about the other segment that included Dominic tonight. They were billing this as Charlotte Flair going face to face with Rhea
yep.
Ripley throughout the night ahead of WrestleMania. Charlotte comes out. She says she doesn't like Rhea Ripley and brings up the last time they were in the ring together. She invites Rhea Ripley out and says that she's
Mhm.
nervous to be in the same ring with Charlotte. This brings out Dominic Mysterio, who gets massive amounts of heat. He says that Charlotte is in over her head. He says that no woman has ever entered the Royal Rumble at number 1 and 1, but his mommy pulled it off. He says Rhea Ripley, he says they say that women are the softer sex, but Ripley is a strong woman. And when she hugs him, she nearly breaks his back. And when she makes sweet, and Charlotte cuts him off, Charlotte says, I have a real Latino man at home who calls me mommy with a much thicker accent.
Yes.
uh she, Dominic responds and says that he knows what it's like being compared to their fathers, and he says that he and Charlotte have a lot in common in being better than their fathers. The fans don't like that, but Dominic says Charlotte will find out, as she isn't good enough at WrestleMania, just like her father said. Charlotte says that she loves her father, who turns 74 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Nature Boy, and could beat up Dominic if he was here right now. But Charlotte says she's here though, and gets in Dominic's face, which draws out Rhea Ripley. We get a stare down between Ripley and Flair, but Dominic gets Ripley out before it gets physical between the two. I like this decision here, Dutch, to
They,
bring
they,
out Dominic, who you know is going to get heat. Therefore, you position Charlotte as the baby face, because I think if this was Charlotte and Rhea in the ring together, I think the fans would have chose to cheer Rhea over Charlotte. But bringing Dominic out there, it made sure you kept Charlotte in the babyface position.
well, I'm looking at little Dominic, and he's not a little guy. And I'm looking at Charlotte Flair. Of course, she had high heels on, but she looked like she was 6 inches taller than he was. I said, my God. But what they did here, they laid out 3 entry paths for us. They laid out, I got another Latino man or Hispanic man at home with a more thicker accent. So that's putting him in a match with, and who's your?
No, it's not. Her husband is AEW star Andrade. That's who she was referring to. So that's not going to set up a match there.
So is he still there?
Yeah, he's still with AEW.
Maybe he may not be there in a month. Who knows?
Who knows?
So
Who knows?
well, he was gone.
No, he's just injured right now.
Probably his feelings are injured. Probably. Okay, and then she brought up her daddy, Rick, which her old entrance is patterned off his. And I will predict that I think Ripley walks away WrestleMania the women's champion.
Yeah, I think everyone's saying that. I just really my honest kind of assessment of this is, like I said, I enjoyed this segment because I thought it was the right decision in putting Dominic out there, who was always going to get heat. He's a heat magnet against Charlotte and keeping Charlotte in the babyface position. But at this point, we're like 5 weeks away to WrestleMania, Dutch, and I think the whole story of Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair is about paper thin. It's thin. And they need probably Dominic more in this feud to get any heat out of it.
One thing, I don't know why she said I beat her 3 years ago. I'm thinking, wait a minute, that was 3 years ago. What's that got to do with now?
Exactly.
You mean the 3 years, all of a sudden she just sat around and just didn't do anything to improve herself? See, she should have said, she should have put her opponent over. It's what she should have done. But, and then say, I don't think she still has the guts to take it or the skills to take it. See, babyfaces need to put their opponent over, because if they do get beat, well, they're pretty good. And if they lose, they've lost to a nobody, because now Charlotte has demeaned her and downgraded her skill in the ring. So I don't think Charlotte came out ahead on this exchange between them. I just don't.
Yeah, I think like I said, this got the heat and the reaction that they wanted, but I literally don't have another reason to want to see Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley outside. I know there's people out there that want to see it because it's going to be a great match. These are two talented women, but I need more than that. I need an actual story besides Triple H basically saying Vince McMahon didn't get this right, so I'm going to try to do it right now. That's what this all comes off with, the fact that they keep leaning on the fact that Charlotte beat her 3 years ago, and we know Triple H has made it public information due to NXT conference calls that he felt Rhea Ripley should have won that matchup.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep in mind that he's a distance runner, Triple H. He's not going to hotshot it because there's no need to, because he's got all that video and all this stuff. Plus, he has live TV 5 hours a week to get the story across. So I think this will lead us to, of course, it's going to lead us to WrestleMania, but where do we go from there? But I'm sure he has a plan for it, so we'll see.
We shall see. We got a super chat donation here, Dutch, from our good friend Rollin Curtis with a big super chat donation. Thank you so much, Rollin. We always appreciate you showing your support for what we do here and sending those super chat donations because they help out the channel so much. He says, I'm a sucker for character progression. My only criticism of Bianca is that she's still the same character that beat Sasha at Mania. For 2022 male, it's easily Sami for me. He went from jackass to main eventer in less than a year.
That's true. He went a long way, and I don't think they had this idea when they put Sami in there. They wanted to do something with him. They didn't know exactly what to do, and by them having patience, the fans, if you listen, the fans will tell you what they want, and they wanted to see Sami somehow elevate himself and he has. So I think everybody can actually be happy about Triple H's booking or the creative team's booking, because I think up to now they've done it well, and they haven't put the wagon in front of the horse, and we'll take it from there. Tonight's show was not as good as some of the others I've seen, but it was still a decent show and a well-rounded show, I think.
I thought it was a decent enough show because the Bloodline was good as per usual, and Dominic Mysterio was a star on this show in my opinion. We do got Queen Monet who says I loved it. I do hope though that Dom doesn't dominate this feud though. He has his own story with Ray. Let Rhea have hers. There's no story, Queen Monet. I'm sorry, there is no story. It's just I should have beat you 3 years ago, so I'm going to beat you now, and totally ignoring that they faced another 5 times between that. This is the 7th time we're going to see Rhea versus Charlotte in some combination. I need more of them creating a story between the two.
Do you think most fans feel the same way you do?
That's what I see on social media. I see social media. It's half and half. It's the people that agree with me that Rhea versus Bianca should have been the matchup, and going back to Charlotte seems like a regression more than progression for Rhea Ripley. And then there's the fans that are just like, well, it's going to be a good match, so I'm okay with it. They just totally ignore that there's no story to it. They just think it's going to be a great match, and they're just happy for
it. Well, I think there is a combination of Ray and Charlotte against Dom and Ray somewhere.
Could do that.
And we'll see where it goes. I don't know where it's going to go. And well, I don't have the answers. You don't either. They don't either. I mean, it's just they will all get together and say, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And what do you and they'll all throw it at Triple H. And then he'll sort it out, and then he'll disperse, work on this, this, and this, and that's how we get a show. So that's how they do it every week.
We had another women's segment. This was a women's matchup. You had Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Natalya was cleared earlier today. We saw a segment where with Adam Pearce was asking if she's been cleared, and Tegan Nox offered to have her back to help with Ronda Rousey in Shayna Baszler's corner. This match was quick. It went just under 3 minutes. Natalya got distracted by Ronda Rousey on the outside. Shayna hits a knee to the face and then an arm bar to tap out Natalya. Post-match, the beatdown continues with Ronda about to knee Natalya in the face again, but Tegan Nox makes the save, and this sets up a tag team match of Ronda and Shayna versus Natalya and Tegan Nox for next week's show. Any comments on this one?
That was like it was just there.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. There's no edges to it. It was just a match. The finish kind of surprised me, really. Of Natalya tapping out, that kind of surprised me, and Tegan Nox coming in and kind of send them scurrying. It kind of surprised me too. But we'll see. Again, that's why we watch wrestling, because how many times you heard this? Somebody goes to a wrestling match and you see it online all the time. F this crap. I'm never, ever coming back to another WWE show or WCW show or AEW. Again, I'm done with it. And the next week, there they are. Well, I thought I was done with it.
Here I am again. I loved it.
But see, fans, that's the backbone of this business. I mean, you can decide to like it or not like it. And if you don't like it, don't go see it. If you do, support it. That's the beauty of it. And the beauty of this show is we don't know what's going to happen either. We're just guessing. I'm guessing because I've heard it for 50 years, what they're going to do next week or whatever. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see. And we'll see who's got the brains here, the fans or Triple H.
We shall see. We shall see. Well, earlier in the night, We had LA Knight come out for a chat. Knight says that it's that time of the year as everyone is talking about wanting their WrestleMania moment. He says the twist, though, is that Knight is going to give WrestleMania an LA Knight moment. That cues up the New Day to interrupt, saying that that's not how WrestleMania works. Kofi mentions that Knight has been around for about 2.5 months, so he isn't getting everything handed to him. Knight calls them the Nerd Day, which Wood says being a nerd has made them a lot of money. And he talks about how Kofi Kingston worked for 11 years to earn a WrestleMania moment, and he got that and won the WWE Championship. Kofi and Knight get into it, and this leads to a one-on-one matchup. And this one gets a lot of time, Dutch. It gets over 12.5 minutes. Kofi Kingston getting the win after a distraction from Xavier Woods with the trombone, and then Kofi hitting Trouble in Paradise with LA Knight. These are all people that I enjoy. I enjoy LA Knight as a character. I enjoy him in the ring. I enjoy Kofi Kingston, the New Day. I'm in love with it. But this matchup and it getting so much time, I could not care less. I'll just be honest. I was like, why is this going like 3 segments? There's nothing to this. This was a paper thin. It was all based on LA Knight wanting a WrestleMania. But
Well, I didn't think LA Knight would get over it, especially since they paired him up with Bray Wyatt from the beginning. But he has kind of gotten over it. Hey, let me talk to you. They're kind of getting with that now. What I didn't understand was leading into the finish, the blowing the trombone in his face. I've never seen that before. Stupid finish. And I don't know why they beat LA Knight. They kind of need heels. I mean,
and
the
he
new
needs to get his heat back after the Bray Wyatt
he
feud.
needs, see, that's why I said he's not going to get over. When they put him with Bray Wyatt first, he didn't emerge there with any heat, but he is kind of growing on you a little bit. And putting in him with Kofi, and he gets beat tonight. I'm like, wait a minute. I wouldn't have done that with it. I would have put him over Kofi somehow. But I don't know. Again, that's me.
I agree. I
But I think
actually agree with you there.
we get over now.
We shall see. And speaking of Bray Wyatt, that's the final segment we haven't talked about on the show. We
Okay.
get a we
I
get an episode.
started to pull out my bong and started hitting it after I was watching that. I said, "What the hell is this crap?" It didn't make it. I don't get it, man. Do you get it?
Well, let me explain to the people. We get a Firefly Funhouse segment, but there's no one in the Firefly Funhouse. Everything goes red. Then we cut to Bray Wyatt in what looks like a home studio. He's watching himself challenging the winner of Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar ahead of Elimination Chamber. We then get a clip of Monday Night Raw where Lashley says he doesn't seem scared after winning at Elimination Chamber. So we go to the Funhouse News with Bray Wyatt and Rebel Rabbit hosting. Wyatt says that it's time for the weather, and we get a makeshift Uncle Howdy saying he's all of us. Then we get it's time for Can You Keep a Secret, complete with Bray with a bad wig, and Bray says, well, can you? We
Yeah.
then look out the door of the Firefly Funhouse, and there's various scary images flashing on the screen, capped off by Bray in his new mask. And Bray asks if we can keep a secret, and that's it. I I even wrote this on Twitter. I'll say this here. This was the most confusing and strangest, and that says a lot that this is the strangest. This is the strangest and most confusing Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt segment that I've seen in quite some time. We got no answers to anything coming out of this.
What you said. I can't say it anymore because I'm watching it and it kind of went on longer than it should have gone on. Come on, guys, get out of it. I don't. That was really, really confusing. It really was. I thought I was back on drugs again, but no, I wasn't. That was really happening. I said, people that are not on, that are not drinking, and are not doing drugs, straight people put this together. And I'm thinking, What does it get heat on Bray? Does it get attention on Bray? Do you think they didn't
Um,
mention anybody else?
nope.
So I don't know. Now he did have Lashley and Brock in the video, but I don't know. He could have had damn Abraham Lincoln and damn John Johnson down the street. I don't know. I don't get it. So
It's very strange. Very strange.
no, it was not that. It was not that ordinary. Strange is a mild word for it. Or that could have been put together by some drug-addled people. I don't know.
I think someone was on drugs doing
You
that.
know deep inside WWE, Bill, what you got down there in the chamber. All right, so we didn't like that. I'll give it a 1.
I mean, overall, this was a decent enough maintenance show for SmackDown as they have 5 more weeks ahead of WrestleMania. But let's move on to Rampage. And Rampage, it was kind of similar to SmackDown. Only one thing was really good on this show, and it was the opener. It was the opener to the show. You had Young Bucks opening up the show in a tag team matchup against Aussie Open. This one got a bunch of time, and the Phoenix crowd, they were very hot for this matchup. Aussie Open really showing off their offense with a couple of double team moves. I love how it kind of broke down at the end, where a lot of the early action was the teams working together and hitting their double team moves. Then, like at the midway point, they just started not connecting with their moves, with the Young Bucks missing the BTE trigger, the Aussie Open missing the meet in the middle. But finally, the Young Bucks were able to overcome a slight distraction where the lights went off, a signal from the House of Black, where Aussie Open hit a tombstone and Roy Borealis for a close near fall. And then they finally put things away with a series of stupid kicks and then the BTE trigger on Fletcher for the win. This match got 18 minutes, Dutch. What did you think of it? I know you're not familiar with Aussie Open, but what did you think of them? I thought Mark Davis of Aussie Open, the bigger guy, was the MVP of this matchup.
But I've seen him before. They had him on once before in a single, right?
Yeah. I
So
think they had him in the 6-man tag a couple of months ago. You're right.
well, he did one move I've never seen, the double slam. I've never seen that. So, but they did some hellacious moves. Almost. Hang on a minute. Quiet, please. Thank you. I don't know. They just come in here and start talking. Anyway, but you'll have to edit that. But he said he's not editing it. So,
Nope.
but anyway, they had some. They did have they had a lot of great moves, almost too many. But toward the end, I'm saying, wait a minute, these young bucks are not doing that super kick so much. I swear to God, bam, 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 bam. They hit about 8 right in a row. I said, well, so much for that. They must not
Hey,
kill
if
it.
it works, if you have a move that works, why don't you just hit it all the time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And, anyway, it was a good match. Their team looked like they belonged, so they could put that team in there with almost anybody. So, not a bad match.
Yeah, Aussie Open surprisingly isn't signed to any promotion. If after that matchup, I would definitely, if I'm Tony Khan, I would definitely be knocking on their door and trying to sign them to a contract because they could really be a nice addition to the tag team division. But the Young Bucks right now, their focus is on the trio championships, but so is that the focus of the House of Black. After the match, the lights go out once again, and when they come back on, the House of Black have surrounded the ring with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega in the center of the ring. The lights go out again, and when they come back on, the House of Black have vanished. Later on in the night, it is announced we are going to get the Elite versus House of Black for the AEW World Trios Championships. And like Steven Chambers says, I agree. The Elite versus House of Black are going to be a great matchup, but they need to juice up this ahead of there's only we only have like a week left before Revolution. We need some big angle either on Dynamite or Rampage to kind of get people more excited and into this matchup here.
Well, my question is, how long has this been booked, these two teams? Seemed like they would have done something before this. See what I mean? And
Yeah.
then this could actually just fill in somewhere. But I think I don't know what Tony's doing or who's helping him, or whatever. But it's almost we call a hot shot. He's almost hot shotting it as he goes, which is
Yeah, they should have started the build to this all the way back when the Elite won the best of seven series. I said that before the best of seven series with Death Triangle was over, that House of Black should have attacked them at the end of that series to set in motion the feud for Revolution. But we've only seen like slight teases, and this was like more of the same of like a slight tease that House of Black is coming, and not really a big angle to really push this forward.
well, it needed something because the lights went out, so the people they're going to what's coming up, and they come up or nothing comes up first, which was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
You expect nobody coming. Somebody should have said they should pay their electric bill. So but when it went out the second time, and they were there, people, it's the House of Black. So it's a way to set it up, but there's no meat to it. It's just a match. That's find out.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great match regardless, but they need to do some more to juice up the feud itself.
But great matches really don't sell tickets.
This is true.
The great matches are great to start off. Then you fill in the story. You can have a story. Actually, the match can be less than perfect, a lot less than perfect, as long as you're following your story. I've seen it 100 times. Some matches are good to start off with, then they come back and work this angle, and it's good. It gets over. The match is not nearly as good, but yet the story continues.
Yeah,
they'll overlook that, but I don't know. We'll have to see where this leads.
We shall. Backstage, we got two segments, one from last Wednesday and one for tonight. We had first Lexi Nair is interviewing best friends when Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, and the Guns come in and attack the best friends. They lay them out, hit them with lead pipes. Later on, we see Orange Cassidy checking on them and asking who did this. They say it was Big Bill, Lee Moriarty, and the Guns. Then we get later on in the night from last Wednesday, after the Acclaim got their victory over the Firm, they are jumped by Triple J, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett, Satam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. This is all leading up to the four-way matchup at Revolution. This was just quick segments, but yeah, it's just trying to fill in the blanks for stuff that probably should have happened on Dynamite.
I mean, those backstage segments are all not unwatchable, but I mean, they're like 45 seconds. I've said this before. They're 45 seconds long, and all of a sudden, again, I go back to my comment. People will believe till you make them disbelieve. Now, the disbelief comes in. Somebody is doing an interview, and all of a sudden, the guy jumps him from the front. Can't you roll your eye a half an inch and see the guy coming? At least have them come through the side or throw something in your face. Do something. And then they just beat the crap out of them. I don't get that. I mean, make it a little more in the realm of believability, and you'll get a lot more out of it. Well, that's my belief. Anyway.
I agree. Next, we had the women's matchup, Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale. My God, Willow Nightingale got a pop from this Phoenix crowd. You would think that she's like...
Oh, I'm telling you, if they push that girl, she'd get over because she's connecting with the crowd. I don't want to say anything about her size, but a lot of women are the size, and a lot of guys like big girls. And she has a beautiful face. And she goes out there and people like her. So they need to take the natural connectivity of her to the fans in general and make something else. Because she's good in the ring too, and they like her. So, and like handsome Jimmy Valiant, he couldn't wrestle his way out of a paper bag. But the people loved him. So he didn't have to wrestle. And Willow, she's actually good in the ring. So I think they could do something with her because they like what you. And her getting beat tonight didn't hurt her at all. They love her more.
No, it's just making her more of a sympathetic
And
babyface.
when you find talent like that, do something with it.
That reaction supported what we said last week, that Willow needs to be the one to break Jade's streak. But this matchup was mostly just Willow selling for the most part. She did get a little bit of offense in. It went 7 minutes. He eventually gets distracted by Saraya, who gets into the ring. She's about to give her the doctor bomb, but then Toni Storm chop blocks her and then gives her Storm Zero for the victory here. Post-match, Toni Storm and Saraya are about to spray paint Willow when Ruby Soho comes out for the save. Eventually, Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker come out and brawl with Saraya and Toni Storm to the back. This is all leading up to Jamie Hayter defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Saraya and Ruby Soho. I thought this was a lot better executed than what we saw on Dynamite this week. And you got the established characters of, Jamie and Britt representing the homegrown stars, Ruby Soho just looking out to get the AEW Women's World Championship, and then Saraya and Toni Storm are just the disruptors who are trying to cause chaos.
Well, I do agree, and I think we've come to the conclusion that the Willow girl, she needs to be pushed more.
Yes.
Jade's record is going to have to be broken somewhere. I suggest, me and you suggest, have the underdog Willow do it. And now she's all of a sudden she's come from the cellar to the penthouse, and because she's the underdog, and I think that doesn't even hurt Jade at all, because the girl's good. So I'm gonna call Tony tomorrow, and I'm gonna say, listen, Tony, me and Sid were talking about this last night.
Let him know.
Tell you something. So if you want to use it, you go ahead. You don't have to credit us or anything. Just give us, give us a McDonald's, like a free hamburger or something, and we'll work for that.
We'll take that. That's the least you can do.
But that's not our job. See, that's their job to see that in that girl. And if they don't see it, I don't know what it's going to take for them to see it. So
hopefully they come around. They'll come around some way, somehow. We did get a quick promo from Jade Cargill talking about her being 53-0 and being a star, and she welcomes all competition to step up to the plate. I don't know if this is a way to get her on the pay-per-view card with like an open challenge, but we shall see. Next we had a quick little squash match, but it was good news because Lance Archer is back, and not only is Lance Archer back, he's back with Jake the Snake Roberts. You heard the pop when they said with Jake the Snake Roberts. This tells you that they like this combination here. This was quick and to the point. It only went 2 minutes. Basically, Lance Archer destroys someone, exactly what he should have done with his return. So I like Lance Archer being back. I like that Jake the Snake Roberts is back with him. So I was totally fine with this.
Oh, a pop for Jake. But Jake has that history. I mean, from years ago and up to now. And he's fought an uphill battle too. He's the one who stole my short clothesline, by the way. I told you that, right?
Yes, you have told me that.
He has never thanked me for it. He just took it and run with it. When he started using it on WWE on that platform, which is much bigger than a Memphis platform, they thought it was his move. And when I used it, they said, "Oh, you stole that from Jake." I said, "No, he stole it from me." They said, "Yeah, right, whatever."
Whatever you say, Dutch.
Yeah, that's right. But Jake, him and Lance actually make a pretty good duo out there.
Yeah.
And and Lance is almost that who could be, if they had a heel big enough, they could have Lance a big baby face, easy, very quickly. And that's what you look for in guys. You look, can they go this way or that way? Of course, it depends on who they're going up against. And Lance has gotten a lot bigger. He's put on like 20, 25 pounds at least. So I didn't know he played college football.
Yeah.
Where did he play at? Texas?
I believe so, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I think that's where he's billed from. So I think that's probably
yeah.
correct.
We had him in TNA, but I can't remember what name he used then.
Lance Hoyt.
Lance Hoyt. That is his real name, right?
Yes, that is his real name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hoyt. That was his name. I was trying to think that tonight, and I'm going, damn, am I that damn brain addled that I can't even remember his name? But it was
He
Lance, and he's a good guy too, really good guy.
he used to be tag team partners with the late great Jimmy Rave in the Rock and Rave connection. I remember that.
And Jimmy Ray was a good guy too. So, and really a shame what happened to him.
Yeah.
So, and I liked him a lot. Easy to get along with, good guy.
Finally, the last couple of segments here. First, we had a backstage interview. Dustin Rhodes and Keith Lee issue a challenge to Swerve Strickland and his mogul affiliates. It's going to be a tag team match next Friday with Swerve accepting. So that's set up for the Cow Palace in San Francisco for a live edition of Rampage. And then we had the main event, Sammy Guevara versus Action Andretti. This one was a really good matchup. This was like a high flying base matchup with both guys kind of moving, and it was fun. There was some technical aspects to it as well. I think the final couple of minutes were very, very strong between the two guys, and it ends with Daniel Garcia getting involved as Action Andretti was looking for his split-legged moonsault. Daniel Garcia behind the referee's back clotheslines him off the top. This leads to Sammy Guevara hitting the GTH for the win here. This match went 9 minutes, so a good chunk of time, but it was taken away a little bit by the last commercial break, so it could have got more time, but this was a good way to end the show, a good main event here. What did you think, Dutch?
I thought it was great. I didn't see it.
I know.
No, but I'll take your word for it. And the reason I don't watch the last match on Rampage is because this is here where I'm sitting here is in another room, and I got to come in and set it up. I've already explained that. So
You have.
but it was if you say it was good, I'm gonna take your word for it because I have learned to trust you. So
And Steven Chambers says it's a good match, so
good. Well, Steven says it's got to be good because
that's how you know people. Uh, Dutch, let the people know where they can follow you on social media and what you got going on this weekend or during the week before we come back next week.
Well, follow me on Twitter, which I'm gonna try to get off Twitter. I'm gonna try to go to YouTube because I think it's better. I think YouTube since Elon Musk, and I kind of like him, but I don't think Twitter's as good now as it was before. You
It's
feel?
very toxic.
I mean, I used to get stuff I kind of enjoyed. Now I'm not even getting that anymore. So anyway, Dirty D Mantell on Twitter and on YouTube. I think it's Dirty Dutchman 1. And you can always email me at Dirty Dutch Mantell with 2 L's at gmail.com. I have 2 books that are, and I'm writing the third one now. I'm coming up. I have 2 books, Tales from a Dirt Road and The World According to Dutch. And if you would like those books, call me up and I'll run down the deal to you. And I've even, while supplies last, I got a bunch of old WCW trading cards. And I'll sign the card and you'll get it free.
Very nice.
How much supplies last? Because I got like 400 of them. They made like 2 million cards.
You got to get rid of those things.
Those are signed.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us tonight for another edition of Smack Talk. We got Safet in the chat who says Liv versus Rhea next week. You got Roman Reigns returning next week. Ronda and Shayna versus Natalya and Tegan Knox on SmackDown. Rampage got Keith Lee and Dustin Rhodes versus Swerve Strickland and Parker Bordeaux. So some good matchups lined up for both shows next week. So join us back here 11:05 p.m. Eastern time for Smack Talk. You can follow me on the Twitter Machine at True Hill SP3. I'll be live tomorrow at 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, True Hill Heat 214. It will be myself, Miss Chrissy Love, and special guest Rob Wilkins of Fightful. We'll be talking about this week in wrestling, Battle in the Valley, Elimination Chamber, Kenji Muta's grand finale. The final matchup for Kenji Muta was this week. We're going to be talking about all of that, whether Vince McMahon is back on WWE Creative. Join us live tomorrow for True Hill Heat 214, and we'll discuss all of that tomorrow. And me and Dutch will be back with Rick. Shout outs to Rick. Hope the kids are doing well. Hope you're feeling better. He will be back with us next Friday right here on Smack Talk on Wrestle Binge by Sportskeeda and the Sportskeeda Wrestling Facebook page as well. So for Dutch, it is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3, and that has been Smack Talk.